Before we get started and I announce our guest today, I got to share with you a quick story. So we got these calls started in January after the Anaheim event. Luigi and I had a little powwow, and we said this might be a good venue. And since that time, we've had an opportunity to interview and share a lot of stories, speak with a lot of practitioners. And Luigi recently connected me with someone, Sherry Beal, and some of you may have seen the interview that she did with Dr. Maria. And I got to tell you, I was reminded speaking with Sherry today how rewarding it's been getting a chance to meet different folks. And we were on the phone for an hour, and we talked about Ollie Life for 15 minutes. The rest of the time was about everything else. And it was just great to connect with someone. And that leads to our guest today. So we've been doing the calls, and you'll recall it got started with, can we get a group together or have a call where we're sharing different ideas, different approaches to engage with practitioners. There's all kinds of different practitioners out there. They want to help their patients naturally, holistically. And how can we go about doing that? And what are some of the models that we can share? And then that grew into, let's interview some of the practitioners, learn what they're doing, learn how they're helping their patients, their client base, so that we have more arsenal, more knowledge in our pocket, so that when we're engaging with a practitioner ourselves, we can share different stories. And during the course of the last several months in the calls, there's been quite a few questions, whether it's in the chat or afterwards, about, well, I just don't know how to get started. And lo and behold, probably 2 months ago now, Alicia reached out and said, hey, I am a business coach for wellness practitioners. I do, and she's going to get into a little bit more, but she goes, I can help. And I said, let's hop on a call. So we hopped on the call. We started reviewing some of the things that she has. And she has a tremendous approach, a tremendous platform that I think we're all going to love. And when we first started talking, I was listening, and I said, I probably know most of this stuff, but let's see what she has to say. And I'm going through it, and all of a sudden I say, well, I don't do that, or I can start doing that better. And so the goal today is Alicia's going to take us through her background, share a little bit about herself, but then she's going to take us through a very deliberate, structured program, and we're going to share the workbook. We're going to put it in chat. We're going to share it at the end as well, so that you can have access to what she goes over today. So take whatever notes you want, but know that this workbook that she's going to guide us through is going to be available as well. Okay. So Alicia, I know you're on mute right now. I'll let you unmute yourself, and I'd like to have you first say hello and introduce yourself to the group, and then we'll jump right into the scale program. All right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me first and foremost. There's so many of you guys on this call, and I'm so excited to share my background and everything that I know about sales with you guys today to hopefully be able to help you. So first and foremost, I guess what kind of got this whole thing started was Doug and I were sharing our experiences with how PMF has changed our lives. And I was invited to do a short sales training to help the Ollie Life community. And I really hate to call out practitioners, but I'm going to do it anyways, just to be able to help you guys. A lot of you are so amazing at what you do. You love what you do. You do great hands-on work, right? But I know a lot of you struggle to sell yourselves and your services. And if you feel called out right now, and if you can relate to this, please put your hands up in the chat, because I can assure you, you're not alone. So that's kind of what led us to where we are today. And I'm going to I can share my screen, yes, now that I'm a host?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that I can share my exact framework on the scale system that I've created on sales. Before we kind of dive into that, I'll go over a little bit about myself so I'm not just like a random stranger. So I come from a vast background in high ticket sales and in business development. So I've recently sold over $200,000 USD in under 60 days. I've also grown my own online fitness coaching business to over 6 figures in 1 year at 25 years old. And I've also trained sales teams, both setters and closers. And now I work as a business coach and in high ticket closing full time for wellness practitioners to expand their income beyond their one-on-one appointments. by creating hybrid high ticket offers. So I actually created this system to simplify sales for the Ollie Life community and kind of to prove that success doesn't need to be through pressure or hype when it comes to sales. So when it comes down to that, it can really just come through trust and service and strong communication at the end of the day. If you don't get a sale the first time you talk to someone, that's not a bad thing, right? We want to plant seeds and we really want to build communication and build trust and rapport. And I'll dive into what I mean by all of that. I know this is just sales jargon right now, but this is also the exact framework that I've used to close nearly $500,000 in high ticket sales on my own over the years. So I'm very confident that it'll work for you guys too. And there will be a Q&A at the end. So please, if you have questions, feel free to like shoot them in the chat and then I'll go through them at the end or yeah. So first things first, what is sales? I want you to look at sales as not something that is convincing someone to join a company or to buy a product. Really what it is specifically for practitioners is just to see a better path for client results, more income, less burnout, and creating more impact in your clinic or in your service, right? You don't want to be looked at as pushy, manipulative, or MLM, especially when it comes to practitioners, because we're just a different breed, right? You can sniff a salesman from a miles away. And so I'm teaching you a framework that's going to work so that you're not coming off that way. Basically, what I want you to think of is yourself as a guide, a consultant, and you're just showing people a new option. You're literally just starting a conversation that leads to changing somebody's life. That's it. That's sales in a nutshell. When it comes down to the expectations with sales, mindset is really, really important. And I want to normalize it really early on. When it comes down to building a business, you need to be able to sell. Without selling, there's no service to be provided. And not in a pushy or inauthentic way, but in a clear, confident, and honest way. So it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to hesitate to reach out to people. You're going to hesitate to follow up and you're going to overthink things, but that's very normal until you get good at it. So when it comes down to it, avoiding things is not going to move you forward, but selling is simply just communication, right? You're not here to wait for those opportunities. You're here to create them. So when it comes down to that, I'm going to be 110% honest with you. I am 100% that sales guru, strategy gal, and I can help you out with all of that. When it comes to the internal blocks, the nervous system, and the communication patterns that can sabotage one's success, that's where my girl, my sister Vice comes in, and you can introduce yourself in the chat. She is the guru in that stuff. So if you guys have questions, please go to her. Because when we really talk about sales, it's much more than just a surface level thing at the end of the day. It comes down to how we talk to ourselves, and it can create a disease in the body or a dis-ease in the body, which can create disease on a mental and physical plane. So I want to look at this also from like a scientific side, but also from a logical side, but also an emotional side of how it can really affect you. Because when you're getting rejected 24/7 in sales until you're good at it, it does play a big role on your confidence. So when it comes to the subconscious reprogramming and keeping your confidence stuck, she's the one that can help the entrepreneurs clear internal blocks, communicate powerfully, and really create aligned success through healing breath work and transformational communication to help ease that nervous system. So please reach out in the comments or in the chat and we'll go from there. Aside from that, the first thing that we're going to focus on doing is building your prospect roster. So generating leads, right? Where do we get the leads? That's probably the biggest question. Who do I talk to? The first thing you need to think of is you don't need everyone. You need a specific somebody that you're reaching out to, right? Aligned practitioners is what we're all here for. I'm thinking, right? So ideal leads for you guys would be chiropractors, physio, massage therapists, osteos, wellness coaches, functional practitioners, clinic owners, right? Where can you find these leads? You can find them on Instagram, Facebook groups, local networking events for health and wellness professionals. You can find existing practitioners, people that you already go to, referrals. You can go to events, and you can do cold outreach even through like email and phone if it's done properly. When it comes down to the first conversation that you had, like I said, it's really about planting a seed. So It's not for selling. The first conversation, do not go in straight to sell, please. Start a conversation, build familiarity, then make them feel seen, then it'll come naturally. So let's kind of dive into the conversations that convert. Step one, observe something real about them, their clinic, their content, their mission, their client care. If you're on Instagram and you see a clinic post something, respond to their story, like just engage. That's a huge way to start a conversation. So an example would be, hey, Sarah, just checked out your page. Love how much intention you're putting into educating your clients. How long have you been practicing for? That's an easy way in. And I will always recommend to ask questions because they're more likely to respond, right? If there's a question attached. So the second thing is ask something easy. So another question is, how long have you been doing this for? What got you into this work? How are you liking business ownership so far? Right? Sales doesn't happen without trust involved. That's the number one thing. You have to have trust or else it's just not going to happen. Third step is building the relationship. So you really want to be able to respond like a real person, validate them. And if you can relate to them, that's huge, right? Being empathetic is the best trait that you can have in sales because builds trust and it really creates a connection between you and whoever you're talking about. So an example of that would be, that's amazing. You can tell you genuinely care about what you do. What made you decide to go in this specific route of XYZ, right? More questions. The person that is talking the most is you, well, typically what you want is you want to be asking the questions. That's who's leading the conversation in sales. So that's who's closing the sale, is who's asking the questions. And I'll get into what that actually means a little bit later. But so those are just some examples. There's some more examples in here. I'm not going to go over everything because you guys can read through this workbook on your own as well. Next step after that is once you build that rapport, you build that connection, you want to go in and you actually want to book a call. So this is where you can move them from your DMs to a conversation naturally. So either booking them a call or booking an in-person demo so you can go see them at the clinic, right? Whatever it is for you that feels the best based on what you've shared. I'd love to learn more about your practice and show you what some practitioners are doing right now to grow without burning out or whatever their problem is that you're solving, right? Keep it simple, be curious, be professional, and please don't be pressureful. That's the number one thing. Now we're going to dive into the scale system. So this is my framework that I literally use every single day in high ticket sales, and it works like magic. So the scale system, S stands for set the frame. So you're setting expectations and lowering pressure. And I'll go into these in depth as well. The second one is connect. So you're building your trust, you're building rapport. Third thing is assessing the gap. So this is the most important things in sales. Understanding your prospect's pain point. People buy solutions to problems. That's what sale is, right? L is leading the solution. So this is where you get to present Life as the solution. And then lastly, E, enrolling the client. Once they're 100% certain that this is what they want, you go ahead and you pull the trigger. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what this actually means. So when it comes to setting the frame, I like to kind of look at this as being a doctor, right? I call it the doctor frame. You're setting your expectations and you're lowering pressure. So you're setting the frame for the call or for the conversation. What that would look like is being like, hey, thanks for taking the time today. My goal for this is just to understand your practice, where you're at right now, and what you're looking to create. If I think I can help you, I'll point you and walk you through exactly how we'll do that. And if not, this call is just really about giving you more clarity and direction. Easy. Why I call it the doctor frame is because a doctor prescribes a solution. When you're the authority in a sales call or a sales conversation, you are providing a solution to a problem. So you're the doctor. That's how you hold that authority in the conversation. The second thing, connect. So how to build trust and rapport. We kind of went over this, but just asking questions like, how long have you been practicing? Even simple things like, where are you from? Really getting to know them a little bit better before you even dive into the business conversation is a really good way to do that. And then asking like, what made you book this call? What's exciting in your business right now, right? Once you've gotten that, then you can really dive into assessing what the gap is, where their pain points are, so that you're able to go in and drive a solution. This is where the sale happens, like I said. So this is what you want to understand is basically the current reality that they're facing, what their frustrations are, their missed opportunities, and the emotional cost of staying in the position that they're in. And I'll say that is the most important thing is understanding the emotional cost. It's called a oh shit or a consequence. Understand what the consequence is of them staying in the same position. That's your main selling point in any conversation. So if we're going into to dive into specifics when it comes to questions to ask to gauge what their pain points are, there's typically going to be 4 to 5 different main problems that a practitioner has. The first one is within their practice. So, how is their business running? Are you fully booked or are you having trouble getting clients? What's your monthly revenue goal? So, understanding the numbers. There's also burnout. So, how many clients can realistically take before you're maxed out? Or do you feel like your income is capped by your hours? That's a really good way to get PEMF into a practice, right? It's not taking any time away from the practitioner, but it's helping their clients get results. Huge. Client results. Are there clients you wish had support between sessions? Do some clients need more than what can happen in one appointment? This is where you're bridging a solution with PEMF. Opportunity. Have you ever considered adding another revenue stream to your practice? What would an extra $1,000 or $3,000 a month do for you? So just lots of different questions that you can really ask to gauge what their pain points are so that you can solve the problem. Once you figure that out, then you're going to dive into their dream outcome. You always want to tie their pain to their dream. Super, super important. So you're going to ask more open-ended questions to really understand where they want to be. Now that you know where they're at, where do they want to go? So if everything worked out, what would change the most for you? What would having that extra income do for you every single month? How many clients would feel ideal for you each week if you could scale back a little bit, if that's what you wanted to do, right? So just understanding where they want to be is huge. Once you understand that pain points, where they want to be, then you can lead the solution. This is where Ollie Life comes in. So something you could say is based off of what you've shared, I think there's real opportunity here. And many practitioners are actually integrating PEMF into their ecosystem as a tool that can support client outcomes while also creating additional income outside of treatment hours. So that's something that you can utilize. However, you'll also know what I said at the beginning is there's 4 to 5 main problems that a practitioner is going to face, right? It's going to be burnout, it's going to be a client outcome, growth, or they want more freedom, they want more time. So you would tie this script specifically to their need. So I'll give you an example of that. If they're going through burnout, what most practitioners are doing right now is actually integrating PEMF so that your income isn't tied only to your body and your calendar. Or another thing would be or a client outcome. What many practitioners are doing right now is integrating PEMF so that your clients have support beyond the clinic. Does that kind of I hope that makes sense for you guys, how I'm just using that one line for their main problems over and over and over again. And you don't really want to dive too deep into the specifics of what the things that come with PEMF are, or over explain what PEMF is, because you all also are going to lose the sale. And I'll dive into exactly what that means. Basically, what we're looking at is outcomes, so benefits versus features. So what we want is to focus more on the benefit that they're receiving from PEMF rather than the actual features of the product, right? So I'll give you an example of actually what that looks like. So PEMF technology would be a feature. A benefit of PEMF technology would be a modern tool that may help clients feel supported and keep them engaged outside of sessions, right? So you're giving them a transformation rather than just a feature that comes with the device. People buy transformations, they don't buy features at the end of the day. Once you've gathered all that information, then you dive into actually enrolling them. So this is kind of where you close it with the investment. You would go in, yeah, so the investment to get started today is, and then you would say like 1,500 if they're getting the P90 plus or whatever device you're selling, right? And then another line that you can use is just to kind of like really get them to say yes before that. So it's not really a matter of this if this can help, because we've already discussed exactly how this is bridging the gap of where you are to where you want to be. But it's a matter of how we just get this rolling to solve that problem for you, right? So that's kind of where you're able to go in and close the deal and get enrolling. However, somebody's always going to have an objection before you get there every single time. And I don't want you to look at objections as rejection. I want you to look at objections as literal basic human nature. As soon as somebody's like, oh, there's a price attached to this, they're going to say something to get out of it. It's just human psychology. It's very, very normal. So the way that we can look at objection handling is figuring out what the root cause is that's causing them to actually say what they're saying. So when it comes down to specific objections, typically what you'll hear is like, I need to think about it. I don't have the money, or it's too expensive. I need to go and talk to my spouse. Just send me the info over an email and we can talk about it later, right? Or I'm not into MLMs, right? So first thing that you want to do when you're handling an objection is you want to isolate the objection, because that's where you figure out exactly what the real underlying cause is. Because if somebody says, I need to talk to my spouse, typically they're just like trying to get out of the sale. Usually, a lot of the time, people don't need to go talk to their spouse about something if it's like $500 to $1,000. They'll do it if they really want to do it. So when it comes down to it, what you would say is to isolate. I can appreciate that. And aside from needing to talk to your spouse, is there anything else that's keeping you from reaching whatever their desired outcome is? From gaining more flexibility and time in your schedule? Yeah, actually, it's just really expensive. There, you found the root cause. They don't actually have to talk to their wife. It's just expensive. So then you dive into that objection instead, now that you've got the root one. The next thing too, when you're really doing objection handling, is you want to focus on tying down every single time they say something. So if you're, I'll give you an example. Say, yeah, it's really expensive. Thank you for being so vulnerable with me. It really helps me better understand where you're at so I can best help you. With that being said, now I'm holding trust. We're staying friends. Because if I immediately go in and I try to argue with them about why it's not too expensive and all these things, you're immediately going to burn your rapport and you're going to have no trust. So always tie down every single time somebody says something. I'll dive into like actual objection handling as well, so that I can give you guys just some examples of how I would handle objections. And you know what? If you want it, I might even give you the whole objection handling script as well. I haven't added that in here because it was just a lot of words otherwise, but maybe put something like, I want the script in the chat, or DM me on Instagram and I'll send it to you. So when it comes down to, I don't have the money, this is going to be the first response for a lot of people. So I'm going to tie it down. I totally appreciate you being honest. Let me ask you, is the real issue a lack of funds for the investment, or are you not seeing how this could create a return on investment for you? Typically, it'll be they don't actually have the money, or they don't see a return on investment. They don't see the value that they're going to get and how quickly they can make their money back. Right? So then you would isolate that and figure out, okay, so it's actually they don't have money. Well, if they don't have money, then you can't really help them in that situation. There is a thing called open walleting that I'm not going to get into right now. It's just to figure out where their actual finances are at on a number basis to see if you can help them. But that's like a little bit further into sales. Maybe we can handle that on another call. Aside from that, something that you can say too is, some people will even say, when it comes down to, I don't have the money or it's too expensive, it's literally just a deflection. They're just saying that to get out of the sale again. So what you could say is, sure, when we look at $1,500 is just a number without context, it can definitely seem like a lot of money up front. I totally agree with you. Let me ask you this. If $1,500 could give you more time, more income, and more freedom within the next 3 months, would it seem like such a scary investment? You're tying their pain to the solution, which is then going to help you handle the objection and get them back into the sale. Hopefully that made sense for everyone. So that's how I would handle a money objection. If they don't see an ROI, that's where you could literally break down the numbers in front of them and be like, this is what we're typically seeing. This is how much money people are making if you're selling the opportunity. Another one is like, I want to dive into send me the info. This one's really fun. I actually love it when people say this to me. So you would tie down again and be like, yeah, of course, I'll definitely send you the information. I'm happy to. Just so that I know what's the most helpful for you, what specifically do you need to see in order to make a decision? This literally opens up the sale again and it gets you back into objection handling because then you're figuring out exactly where the uncertainty is that's keeping them from buying. Pretty cool. That's one of my favorite ones to handle. Again, if you guys have more questions on how to specifically handle objections, you can just drop them in the chat and maybe we'll go over them at the end. But that's how I would do the objection handling side of things. In terms of next steps, taking action, that's the framework, the skill framework. Once you have that nailed down and you understand it, it gets really simple and you can memorize it. So what I would recommend for you guys is to go and create a script based off of this framework. You can put it into ChatGPT and be like, hey, chat, help me write a script to reach out to practitioners to be able to sell my products, something along those lines. I could probably write a better prompt for you guys, not off the top of my head, but that's what I would do. So go write a script. Second thing, again, it's not about being perfect, really. It's about taking action, building the confidence, and repetition. You only get good at things and create confidence through repetition, right? So the more you practice, the more confident that you're going to become. Stay consistent, stay genuine, keep showing up, and I can guarantee you guys will get good results. And these are some daily targets that you can even use to help aid in your success. So you can start 5 new conversations, just a simple outreach on Instagram, 5 follow-ups, and invite someone to a call. If you can't hit those numbers, make it something that's actually achievable and attainable for you, and then start building up from there. Aside from that, if you guys have more questions, like I said, drop them in the chat. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Biz with Alicia. I'm happy to answer questions there. I've also created a practitioner network outside of Ollie Life where I'll be helping my clients as well. So you guys are more than welcome to join that. And I think we're building one inside as well. Me and Doug have been talking about. So we're looking at how we can do that. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of my chat here. And this is my favorite quote. If your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. So go after it.
That is fantastic, Alicia. Thank you so much. And right now, before I forget, I mentioned I would put the link to the workbook or how to access the workbook in the chat here. So let me do that right now. Control, here we go. Click enter. All right. So, I would love to hear from others. I wrote down a few nuggets for myself that, as I mentioned, I think we all have our groove, our way of doing things, and for some, I don't know where to start. Right, wherever you sit, I think all of us can take something away from today's call. I'm sure you can. I think at the beginning, when we were talking about sales, like what is sales, right? And I saw someone put up the word relational. I didn't see who did it, but that wasn't me. And in prior calls, we talked about collaboration, and Alicia, you talked about empathy or being empathetic. I would love to hear from some others. Before we start answering some questions, was there a takeaway or an aha moment or something that you're going to put into practice tomorrow. And you can open up your mic or you can put it in the chat. But this is, let's make this a little interactive. If what is something that you're going to do tomorrow or this evening, whatever day, time of day it is, that you feel might be helpful based on what Alicia shared with you today. Can we hear from anyone, or put it in the chat there? I'll open up the chat while we do that there.
It's opened up, though. The chat is
all
open.
Right. Yeah, thank you. All right. Do you hear some requests for scripts here? Hello.
Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment. I apologize. I got in a little bit late. You maybe have already covered this in terms of handling objections, but a very good way of starting off responding to a question someone might have or concern is, well, I can understand how you feel. I felt the same way when I first heard about this product and the price and so forth. But this is what I actually experienced myself and sort of shifted over into certainly expressing empathy in that fashion, and gaining, a little more confidence with them that you do understand what their concern is, and ask them to elaborate a little bit more, of course, get down to really what the critical issues. And people do hide that, obviously. They will avoid telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's definitely something that I mentioned too earlier, was being empathetic and being relatable. So if you have an experience that you can relate somebody, that is like gold in sales, absolute gold. Because when you relate to somebody and be empathetic towards them, it really creates that bond, that connection, and that trust. So exactly what you said, Henry, that was great. Yeah.
Fantastic. Henry, thank you for the question there. Anyone else? Open mics there. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, I'm just reading through these as well.
I have the chat open too. I'm trying to go back to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Sorry. Just down the road from me is a little community hall, and on Tuesdays there's health hub group there, and I'd like to introduce them to this. I went a few months ago and ended up getting some seeing a herbalist, different modalities and stuff that they do there. But I love the products, but when I come to telling other people and stuff, I even now talking to you guys, I'm locking up inside, right? I mean, I've got two P90 pluses. The reason I got a second one is so I can still take it around, and the other one stays at home with my mum. But I've got the wand, I've got the glasses. But telling people, for me, I can talk to them about it, what I've been using, but when I come closer to telling them about the business side, I seem to lock up myself. And so just introducing even the products is a step, because I know the business is in there as well behind it, right? So I just try and ask, I'd love to go down there today after this and introduce it to them, because I know how awesome these products are. But for me, and I'm seeing more and more people come on this particular page, but other pages, and I did take it to a festival about a month ago, which was a health. It was music festival, but it was health orientated too. And so I did show a couple of people. Had one guy on it. He likes gadgets, but I haven't recontacted him to take it around to him or to show him yet. Sorry, I know that was quite bored.
No. I have some comments too. Go ahead, Alicia. Then I'll jump in as well.
Sure, yeah. So it sounds like there's a couple of problems that you're facing right now. The number one thing is how to articulate the value when it comes to the actual products when you're talking about them to people. The second thing is it sounds like you don't have a follow-up process to be able to re-engage with people after you've talked to them. Okay, so maybe that's something we can write down to take into another call, is talking about a follow-up process and how we can better engage in that. In terms of being able to articulate value, again, I don't know if you caught that part where I was talking about, if you talk too much about the features of a product, people just get lost in information. So what you really, again, you want to just tie it to the transformation. So the fact that you have a story already about how the device has helped you so much, right? Why you've bought them, that's an amazing story. You can tie that to their desired outcome. You can tie that to the pain that they're facing if it's relevant and similar. I wouldn't like, in terms of actually understanding all of the features of the device, we also have all of those resources on the Frequency Awakening app, right?
Yep,
So people, so people can go and watch those videos. And I would honestly just go and watch those videos and write the features out if you really need to understand them better in your own words so that it makes more sense for you to explain. That's the biggest thing that I would do. Does that help? Do you have any other questions?
no, it does a lot, because I mean that's the thing is sometimes I'm not sure what to send to who. I mean, So I mean, at that festival, the one guy he was into PMF and technology, but I ended up having I think 4 people use it, and one of them was a chiropractor, and so he was quite interested, but he was still like questioning. But I still haven't contacted him, right? Because I don't want to mess it up so they don't even have a look. That's one of my things. It's like if I introduce it wrong, they're not going to take another look, and that's one of my things, I think.
Which I totally get. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. You finish your thought there, Alicia. Then I'll add to what you started there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, in terms of follow-up, that's the biggest fear that a lot of people have is reaching back out after they've gotten a lead. They're like, I don't want to mess it up. I'm scared. I don't know what to say. So one of the simplest things that you can do for follow-up is just not sound desperate, not sound needy, just be like, hey, John, I had some extra time today and I was just thinking back to our conversation that we had on X date. And I wanted to see where you're at with the process, or if you've had a chance to look at the videos that I sent you, whatever it was that you had already kind of talked about with them, just guide it back to that conversation and see where they're at. That's the biggest thing. That's all follow-up is, really. But I will tell you, most sales are lost. 70% of sales are lost because of lack of follow-up. 100%. So that's your strongest armor in sales.
And Johnny, just add to that, and I think a few people, I'm looking at the chats too, have jumped in similar thoughts. I'll share a little bit about how I've continued to refine my approach and approaching practitioners. And I'll weave in some of what Alicia shared. So I've started, each of us, we need to define, what is our role when we're reaching out. So I happen to be a physical therapist by training. And so I have woven that into my message, but I email the practitioners that I would like to target first. So I've done some research online about them, but I used ChatGPT, as Alicia said, and we've talked about before. And into that, I tell Chat that I'm looking to send a message to practitioners. I'm a physical therapist looking for opportunities to collaborate with like-minded individuals who are looking for natural, holistic ways to help their patients, right? And I've also asked Chat to include what I'm doing, and I'm using PEMF and terahertz technology to do that. You can feed it to get the right opening for you, so that when I send it to a practitioner, yes, I have a solution, but I haven't talked about, I'm going to come there talking about the products. I'm coming there to look for an opportunity to collaborate. And in that collaboration, in that email, it is not only to help their patient outcomes, but additional revenue streams. So that's what I'm leading with. If they don't respond to the email, I am local enough to the ones I've started with right now. Then I stop by the office and say, hey, I recently sent an email. Is there a day and time in the week where so-and-so is available to have discussions like this? And I did that not too long ago. And they said, oh, you sent the email, right? And then we got a time and the conversation went on. And then from there, when you have that meeting, you've done your homework, as Alicia said, you are observing, you're aware of their practice model, their philosophy, what their vision is, but you're asking a lot of questions and getting them to talk the majority of the time, right? whoever talks the most wins, right? And let them talk so that they win by getting your solution. But I would, taking what Alicia said and tailoring it to what your objective is. And in this case, you're looking for opportunities to collaborate. You're looking, for alignment and additional revenue streams on top of the patient outcomes. You're not looking to replace their foundational or core services. You want to complement those. And then before that meeting, I've also sent to them in advance a little information about, in this case, the P90 Plus. That's usually what I'm leading with. So I said, hey, looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. Just want to send you something in advance. At that point, once I've already secured the meeting, I don't mind sending them some information in advance. I would say a majority of the ones, at least we've been engaging with so far, know a little bit about what PEMF is. They may already be using it in their clinic. They just might have the super whammer clinic-based one and not something that is clinic grade but available for home use. And so if they have PEMF in their clinic, I think that's even better, because now you don't have to worry about educating them on PEMF and terahertz. You get to actually say, and this one has terahertz too. So just wanted to add to that, Johnny, and I'm sure others too. That's what seems to be working for us to get the conversation, and then the follow-ups, right? I saw someone put, we have videos, we have Ollie Nation testimonials, like before and afters. We were talking with someone about the Shaken last week. Well, do you have any testimonials? And nothing works better than showing a before and after. There's plenty of those in there. So the follow-ups are testimonials, additional information. Walk away with whatever it is. If that first visit is building the relationship, you may or may not get the opportunity to collaborate and partner with them that first visit. That's okay. Building that trust, building that relationship oftentimes is the key for that first visit, that first interaction.
Exactly.
All right. I've talked enough.
No, that was great. That was great.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to add.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Let's see.
There's one other suggestion I might make for this gentleman.
Please. Is this Henry?
Yeah.
I'm recognizing the voice. All right.
When I was involved in sales in a lot of different ways, in particular in software development and software selling. And before I would go in to meet someone, one of the things I felt was very helpful in just giving me more confidence is to just sit in my car momentarily and just step through what I would see happening. This taps into your subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind actually works in images and pictures. Your conscious mind deals with facts and figures and words, but your subconscious mind is like 1,000 times more powerful. So you're actually watching yourself go through the process of meeting somebody and discussing and presenting information. And it's kind of uncanny, but if you walk through that exercise before you want to talk to someone about that, it actually prepares you. You've almost practiced it ahead of time. And it's amazing how much sort of the power of your subconscious, imagining and seeing yourself do something, actually comes to fruition. And this is well established in terms of the power of the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind. So that's one little suggestion I might make, is just imagine and see yourself doing it and sort of practice it in your mind. I know athletes do that. They will practice their routine without actually doing it physically, and they improve dramatically. That's been proven. The other little phrase that's often used is that, remember, stories sell and facts tell. So if you give a lot of facts, it's not really going to be as persuasive or convincing as if you talk about experience that you or other people have had. So a story is far more effective in explaining something and getting somebody to understand what it's all about. And the final little comment I would make, there's a great expression called SW4, because when you walk out of a no and someone says, no, I don't want to buy it, you say XW4, and the first SW stands for some will. Some people will, in fact, buy your product and see the benefit. The second SW stands for some won't. Some will say no, so expect it. And the third one is so what? Because it really doesn't matter. And the final one is someone else is waiting to actually hear about your product, what you have to offer, and buy the product. So you walk out of a no, you used to say SW4 and move on to the next one. So just a suggestion there, a little phrase that might help you get over the no's.
I love
Henry,
that. When we look at sales, it really is just a numbers game too. Like if you look at some of the top closers in the world, like like some of the 1% closers are closing at a 40 to 50% close rate. Like it's very rare that you see someone at 100%. Founders, they have a strong upper hand, right? Like when I was doing my online fitness coaching business and doing all the sales for that, I had an 88% close rate. When you're the founder, there's a lot more trust. So when you're selling something else, it's a little bit different as well. So keep that in mind. If you get a bunch of no's, think of it as like you're that much closer to getting your first yes. If you knew, take it this way, if you knew that 100 no's would get you to your first yes, would you be more excited about getting a no? Probably, right?
that's right.
That's the way I like to look at it.
Get there quicker. Dr. Lauren, Henry, thank you so much too. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
Hey guys. Hey Doug, can you guys hear me? Did I take my?
We sure can.
Hey Doug, thanks so much for hosting the call again. Hey Luigi, hey everybody. And Alicia, thank you so much for popping on and sharing all of this information. I understand it. I appreciate it. I too am high ticket sales. I have my own program. I am a businesswoman as well. And so I understand what goes into all of this. And I just want to offer one more thing to our community that it really hasn't been mentioned yet. And I actually, right before this call, I was like scrambling to get off my other call to hop on this one. Was somebody reached out to me in the community and asked me if I could be a third party. They had someone who was a chiropractor and they did not feel comfortable speaking and closing the deal, right? And so they reached out to me, and I have done a lot of these calls, and they reached out to me because I am comfortable with sales. I am comfortable with technology. I specialize in frequencies and bioelectric medicine. So like I can talk about it freely and with confidence. And so I think another amazing thing, until you guys train, right, Johnny, like until you get to the point where you have a little more confidence, it's totally cool and acceptable. And we welcome you to reach out to Luigi, reach out to Doug. We are happy to get on a call with you guys and bridge that gap, because even this chiropractor was asking, insurance questions and payment questions and all sorts of stuff in the back end that if we're just getting here or just don't know about sales in general, like how the medical world, med spas, estheticians, all of the legalities that we have to deal with that in traditional sales, we don't, right? Like I have 5 published books, Amazon, no brainer, fine. Push the button, you sell it, you're done. There's not all of this selling also of the lifestyle, because you're not just selling a P90, you're selling a whole business that goes with it, right? Because it's an MLM. So you also have to sell them that they're going to be getting a place, in this as well. So it's a lot heavier of a sale. So there's a lot more that goes into it. So I just want to, remind anyone who's on this call and listening that like Luigi and Doug and whoever else, Dr. Maria, I know is happy to help, to be available if you guys ever need someone to like get on there and lock it down. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And that's something that, I even do in my high ticket sales. Like I work in high ticket sales as a career strategist. I do that. I tag team with my teammates and we get on calls together and we close deals. So like, absolutely. That is so strong. Thank you for sharing that. Huge.
Perfect.
All right. Before we wrap things up, are there any other questions? How about showing a little love for Alicia and Henry, Johnny, Dr. Lauren? Thank you so much for jumping in as well.
Oh, it looks like there's another question in the chat.
Yeah. Let's go. Do you have it? Pull it up. I have a teammate.
Let's see. Hi guys, I have a team member that's concerned as a practitioner that we're not seen as taking advantage of clients. Can you expand a little bit on what you mean by that, Sharon?
Hi,
Oh,
guys. Hi.
hi.
So I actually have a team member who's a practitioner, and she said that she's really concerned about us, about people coming back to us and saying, this person was vulnerable because it is quite a high priced item. Um, and so, yeah, she's concerned that like from an ethical point of view, because she's studied ethics and all this stuff as a practitioner, that we might be seen as kind of taking advantage of clients who are vulnerable in getting them involved in a high price ticket item or like a business, and that there can be repercussions in saying, actually, you're ethically, it's what's the word when you're um, it wasn't in their best interest, or you were making money out of it, or so just as one practitioner to clients. So I was I've always had the opinion that it's really, well, we're offering, just like you were saying, more of a service between sessions and giving other opportunities to them for taking their own health in their own hands. But yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion in terms of invested interest. That's the words, like that people don't see that as a practitioner, we've got an invested interest in selling an item where we're making some money out of it. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that open to you guys and see what you as practitioners and salespeople had to say about that.
Yeah.
Dr.
It looks
Lauren?
like Dr. Lauren has something to say, so I'll let her take
Thanks,
it.
Dr. Lauren.
I literally just finished this. Hi, my sweet Sharon. How are you?
Hi, sweetheart. Good, thank
Hello,
you.
darling. I'm so happy to see you on the call. I literally, right before my other call, right before that, I was doing literally just this, exactly as you're saying. And I'm going to build this out. And Doug, I'm going to post it for everybody. I'll make a post out of it, and you guys can copy and paste it, because somebody else brought this up to me as well. And I said, yes, it's $1,500 for the P90 plus, right? But what are you paying for chiropractic adjustments, deep tissue massage, peptides, supplements, a PT appointment, your gym membership, all organic foods? So I made an entire list of this versus that. And not only did I come up with a number that was somewhere between, like $2,000 and $4,800 for all of the peptides, all of the other alternative things that you're trying to do to maintain your health. But the $1,500 for the P90 plus, you then have it in your house. You don't have to purchase it again. It's a one purchase. And if you want to get more, then you get more, but it really helps frame the client. You're not taking advantage of them. You're actually trying to save them money. And not only save them money, I also very much want to put back into play that we are not trying to say that Only Life has to abolish everything else that you're doing. The P90 in the circulation and Only Life products enhance anything else that you're doing. But maybe you can get rid of a couple of appointments, right? But it's going to dive deeper, your supplements. It's going to open up that circulation on a cellular level. So your nutrients and supplements are going to work on a deeper level. So Sharon, I hope that makes sense to you. Is like, we're always client first, health first. How can we help you? How can we serve you? And, the financial piece is really the very last piece, but I am going to put that PDF together and send it to everybody.
Yeah, Alicia,
Yeah,
go ahead
thanks,
and
Dr. Lauren.
I'll add to that too. That's fantastic, Dr. Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah,
Alicia?
I
Okay.
love that. I love that so much. And another way you can really look at it is like tying it to what it's costing them by not taking action too, as well. Like
Right.
how much quicker can you see results using the PEMF device? by adding it into your daily routine, right? And if people are like looking at it as like an MLM, something I would even say is like, I completely understand. Like, I don't like MLMs either. I don't want you to look at this as like a hyper chasing people. It's about practitioners that are using a tool they believe in while creating aligned growth from it, or like people, even just your clients, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of angle the conversation. And just really understanding as well, like being curious and asking more questions to understand why they're feeling that way specifically, too, is a huge one.
And
The
if
more
I can,
curious you get, the more you're able to kind of go around the objection or, that statement too.
if I could build upon that too, and then I know we're at the top of the hour here, so let's wrap things up here. But as a practitioner, you've invested time and finances to get certified, to get trained, to have maybe a brick and mortar office versus virtual online. Your business is to help others. And so to get rewarded for helping others, we should not feel embarrassed or ashamed at all, especially in today's age where you have other entities and practitioners who are being incentivized by companies to do something that might not be so ethical. Here, if you're providing this service and you feel good about that, you should get rewarded. You're going to get rewarded from seeing your patients' outcomes, and you're going to get rewarded financially because that's your business. And I don't think anyone should be ashamed of that. It's not an absurd price and an absurd reward for helping them. And if behind the scenes it builds something for you and you get rewarded larger than that, then that's fine too. And most of the times as practitioners, you're not having a business building opportunity. You're just acting as a retail provider of that. So that's even easier, I think, to get started. You might have some that hey, they're also interested in the business thing. You can have that discussion. But what you're leading with is a solution, and you're going to get rewarded with their good patient outcome and the financial aspect of them purchasing it. And you're in business to help them and to get paid. That can be tough to get over, but that's what it is. Nothing to be ashamed there.
There's also the fact that, like, if you go into a clinic, a lot of people purchase products and they sell their products in their clinic. It's literally, and they get commission off of it. It's literally the same thing if you look at it in that perspective.
That's right.
So absolutely, at the end of the day, you shouldn't feel bad for getting compensated for your work ever.
Yeah. Sharon, thank you so much. Whether that was yourself or others, I appreciate that because you're not the only one sharing or thinking that. So thank you so much. All right, we are at the top of the hour. I want to thank Alicia. Fantastic job setting the stage for everyone. Look at the discussion it turned into. That is fantastic. I know there's a lot of chatter in the chat. I know Vice was helping to collect some of that information. You were in there as well. Dr. Lauren, Henry, Johnny, thank you again. We will have another exciting guest next week. And last request, if you are a practitioner and have something to share, please reach out to me. I'm in the Connection Center. I'm on WhatsApp. I would love to hear from you. Typically what we do is we have a call in advance, hear what the story is, and everyone wants to hear and learn. So that's why we're here. We're not trying to do anything else other than share. So I'd love to hear from other practitioners. We all would like to hear Dr. Lauren again, but we can only hit her up for so many times. All right.
Our hand up too. There, really. If we have a couple of seconds, really quick.
I'm sorry.
It looks like Vice raised her hand there too, but you're
muted.
Hey,
Vice. Yep.
Hey guys, so yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know too, as I will be reaching out to everybody so that they actually can be able to, the first 5 people that I put the request in there, so I can help people with the limiting beliefs that they're having within this sector. For the 5 people that will get the one-on-one session with me, it'll be a mini session for that one, and then I received the emails there. And then I'm also going to be doing a group session to help as well with transformation, so that I can help with everybody when they're not feeling like they're able to show up for themselves enough to even like push them forward so they can even show up in their business. As the gentleman was talking about how he was having troubles talking, he could talk about the actual device and what it's done for him, but he was having troubles trying to talk about the opportunity of business, right? So we all usually have blockages within our side ourselves. So if I can help with that. So that's what I'm going to do there. And then I will reach out and email everybody there. And if anybody else has any more questions, you can reach out to me and just email me on it's called the Happy Addiction Academy on Instagram. And I can answer any questions there. And if you didn't get a chance to get an email in there, please give me an email there and we'll figure out what we can move forward from there.
Bryce, thank you so much.
You're welcome, love.
All right. There we go. There. I see it there. All right, everyone. Have a good rest of the evening or good day, and we will see you again soon. Take care for now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.